Great, awesome. We are live. Thank you, everyone. We're very excited. We know it's been a little bit since we've done our previous webcast.
We've been busy.
We have been very busy with lots to share. So excited to do one of these. Let me first make sure, I guess we'll do introductions first, and then I'll make sure that we have Q&A enabled. So welcome to the Logic Apps monthly webcast. I'm Jeff Holland, a program manager working in Microsoft integration for Logic Apps, and joined by
Kevin Land, also a program manager in Logic Apps.
John Fancy, also a program manager working on Logic Apps, working on some of the enterprise integration features.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. So we have tons to share with you today. We've had a very busy last few months. We've got a very busy upcoming few weeks, but lots of cool stuff to share, lots of stuff to show. We got to spend some time in London at the Integrate conference and meet with a lot of you and a lot of others around BizTalk and Logic Apps and integration and some exciting things coming there. So we just want this to be an interactive, fun session for us to give updates and share what we're working on, as well as get feedback from you. So feel free to ask us a question. If you're watching this via YouTube, you should be able to see this chat enabled. I'm not sure if you can or not, because it looks like Google Hangouts changed a little bit. But at the very least, if you tweet us at LogicAppsIO, we can answer questions at the end of this webcast as well, or if you do chats within the Hangout. And we also, if you want to send us an email, our email had some hiccups, but I just created a new one today. But you can send us an email to logicappsemail@microsoft.com. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started with showing some of the stuff that we've been working on and some of the stuff that we have coming soon. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Actually, let me make sure I don't have too much stuff. Okay, and great. Oh, we can't go straight to my demo. So I'm sharing the screen, and let's open this deck right there. Awesome. Okay, Kevin.
All right. So as we usually do, we tell you what we've done in the last month. Now it's been about a month and a half since our last webcast. So let's go over what's new. First, we have a new blog section essentially for Logic Apps Update. So what we've done is there's two different types of ways to share updates in Azure. There's Azure Service Updates where we announce the major features that we're releasing, but we wanted to give you a more detailed set of things that were being done, either bug fixes or more minor fixes that were done or features. So we're going to use this Logic Apps Update to keep you informed about those changes that have been done.
That's right. So if you go to this portal now, I actually just posted one today because we had a release go out, or it's in the progress of rolling out today, still with details on what's rolled out. And then for bigger updates, like when we introduce new functionality, that's a major thing, we'll still also update the service updates where we've done things before, but this will give you some of that more detailed information.
Last month, we got to go to London to talk at the Integrate conference, and we had a really great set of sessions, getting to meet customers and partners and talking about our integration vision. And a lot of those videos are now posted onto the BizTalk 360 site. You can see the link here for Integrate 2016 resources. So you can actually go and watch those presentations that we've done.
Yeah, we had a lot. I mean, this team had 4 that are all posted. There's a keynote around our all-up strategy that's definitely worth watching. We go deep into BizTalk. We go deep into Logic Apps, and also some other things we're checking out around Azure Service Bus, API management, and Microsoft Flow as well. If you've been keeping up to date and you know that there's a new offering from Microsoft called Microsoft Flow, which is a SaaS offering that's built on top of Logic Apps, definitely worth watching that session as well to understanding how Microsoft Flow and Logic Apps relate with each other. So check that out with that link.
Oh, and we're so excited to finally have a Salesforce sandbox.
Yes, it is. It is finally coming. This has been, I know we've been saying this is coming for a while. It's been in bits and pieces. It's in Brazil South region right now. So if you have a Logic app in the Brazil South region and you add a Salesforce connector, you will see an option to connect to a sandbox account. And it's in the process of rolling out globally. So by middle of next week in all regions, you should be able to create connections into Salesforce Sandbox.
Yay. At workflow improvement. So now you can get with the at workflow function, you can get the run ID within a run. So especially as we'll talk about later on for exception handling and other handling within your workflow, or if you want to post event information out of your workflow into some other system, now you can get access to that run ID using the at workflow expression. Improved telemetry and diagnostics. So we've added a lot more diagnostic information to monitoring, so you can go and when you turn that on for your Logic app, you'll see a lot more options that you can actually go and track and get telemetry information for. XMS client tracking ID header. So now you can do custom tracking. So this is our ability to do correlation across workflow runs. So if you push in that client tracking ID, we will flow that ID across your from a Logic app to its child Logic app, and then see that correlation across the set of actions.
That's right. So
and in your logs as well.
Yeah. So one request we got a lot is, hey, that's great that we have a run ID. What if I'm calling nested workflows, right? What if I'm calling other services and I need to have some ID that I have across all of that? And this is a way to do that. If you don't set a header, we'll create a client tracking ID for you. We'll generate one. But you have the option through either a trigger that you own or through a request trigger. If you pass in a header, XMS client tracking ID with whatever you want, it could be a GUID, it could be whatever ID you've been using, we will keep that and honor it throughout all nested calls and into your diagnostics data as well.
This one's actually been around for a while. We just haven't had the chance to announce it. Nested workflow actions. So you can now, in your drop down for choosing either an operation or a custom API app, now you'll have an option for choosing your workflows. So in the client experience, you can actually choose a workflow call as a nested workflow. And multi-line text boxes. So a lot of times you're typing away and you lost the end of your text because it didn't fit in your text box. So now we've given the ability, as you hit enter, that text box will grow and you can see all the stuff that you've actually written in the text box. And HP request trigger card improvements. So now in that HP request trigger, you have we've included the URI for the endpoint so that you can go invoke it, and it's easier to. We made a nice little copy button, so you can go copy it, as well as exposing the ability to enter in your schema for the request that's coming in. So once you enter in your schema, then we can treat those items as tokens in your Logic app when you're referencing that trigger body. And finally, at support in the designer. Yay! So you don't have to go to code view if you want to type an expression. You can actually be in the designer and write your expressions right in those boxes, and we won't do strange things to them.
Yeah. Perfect. And I wish, every time I do this webcast, I wish we had like picture-in-picture so you could see how excited we are to say some of these things and to show them. I know all you're looking at is the slide deck right now, but we are excited if you can't tell from our voice.
So we have a lot of stuff in progress, and we're working really hard to get these awesome features out to you. The first one is nested conditions. So you have a notion of conditions today, and we're doing a lot of work to improve a lot of aspects around scopes and control flow. And that first one is nested conditions, so you can have an if then and another if within that if branch. And then, as I said, better control flow. So we'll have support for scopes for each until conditions and ordering. And so you'll actually see scopes and shapes in your designer, and they'll look, what you would expect a workflow, a business process management designer to look like, and actually get that mapping right in your designer. At result. So, now that we've created these scopes, you want to be able to understand when something went wrong in that scope, what went wrong. So we've created a function that's called at results. Then you can actually get the context for all the actions that execute in there and find the one that went wrong, and then either handle that as a compensating action or send that information out to some other system. Visual Studio integration. So excited about this one. So we're creating an experience inside of Visual Studio so that you can get that same experience that we have in the portal today in Visual Studio, make it really snappy, and have a great experience for being able to take your Logic app, do a local save, or save to source control, and that's going to be awesome. On-premises connectivity. Yeah, you got the yes there. On-premises connectivity for managing.
I always say on-premise. I'm learning.
So now we have the ability to do hybrid. We're working on the ability to reinvigorate our hybrid connectivity and the managed APIs for things like SQL and SharePoint and future on-prem connectors will start lighting up. So these will be managed APIs, not your custom API of V1 connectors like you have today. Tracked properties for telemetry. So now you can go ahead and promote a property out of your action or your message to say, hey, this is important for me so that when I look at my run information, this property out of this message is something I want to be able to track and not have to go through and dig through the inputs and outputs to go find it. So this will make it easier in the future when we start adding more search capabilities of these IDs and information. You can start finding runs that were associated with my partner Bob. Rename cards from the designer. If you don't like the names,
change it.
Change it. So we came up with some out of box names, but a lot of customers out there have their own reasons for their names, and so we're enabling that.
Oh.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do we do a little bit of a demo? You want to jump into your stuff?
Do a demo.
We have so much.
Entice them.
Honestly, I'm even going to stop sharing just for a second to turn back on that camera, because there's a lot that's been going on in the last webcast. So I even just wanted to take a little break. One of the things that we have been working on, I want to mention a few of them, is some improved documentation. So if you are at the Logic Apps documentation portal, like at the Getting Started or What Are Logic Apps, or even if you Bing/Google search and say Logic Apps examples and scenarios, there's a document that we've been working on, I just wanted to call out, that lists a bunch of different patterns that people have been trying to do. Things like exception handling or deploying a Logic App, creating deployment templates, working with loops, a lot of this frequently asked question type stuff. So I would just encourage people as well, as you begin using Logic Apps, that's a great resource to use. One of the things that's available now is a little script. We've got a few PowerShell modules you can use to help you both with connection management that Kevin helped put together, which is actually in progress. We forgot that one as well, a connection management experience inside the portal, as well as a little PowerShell script that will create templates out of your Logic App. So if you want to use something like Visual Studio Release Management, and you've created a Logic App, and now you're like, I just want to make this a template and push it to any group I want to, there's an article as that as well.
To be clear, we're constantly adding stuff to our blogs, but
yes,
the experience and scenarios we've actually added as a left nav in the documentation, so you can go find it really easy and look through those experiences that we put together.
That's right, and we're taking requests as well. We've got a few on our backlog of people who said, hey, I would love to see how to do better tracking and telemetry, and there's a blog post or an example coming on that one. So feel free to let us know as well. What would you like to see added to that list? The other thing I just want to call out quickly, and then we'll switch to John, and then we can do the demo after that, is in 2 weeks from today, we're actually going to be doing an extra webcast because we went so long without doing one with the London trip and everything else. And this webcast will be focused primarily on getting your first Logic App up and running. So we always do demos, but most of the time our demos here are catered to, here's some advanced type stuff, and here's some of the new things that are added. So in 2 weeks, there'll be another webcast, and on that, we're going to be giving a more broad overview of what are Logic Apps, how do I get my first Logic App up and running, what do all the pieces mean, and how do I get all the points of data and debug and all those other fun things. So we'll be sending out an invite for that as well, but you can mark your calendars in advance. And then obviously we'll have more webcasts after that, probably 2 weeks after that. So you'll get to see a lot of us over the next few weeks. We're excited about. I don't think there's anything else I've missed. We can switch to John's. We have even more announcements now. Yeah. So, and we've been getting some good responses on Twitter. Oh, that is right. That's right. Based on Twitter. So I did promise in the invite to this that we have swag. We have nice T-shirts now for Microsoft integration. So here's what we're going to do. A little bit of fun for you all. We get a lot of viewers over the first 24 hours, so I didn't want to only favor the people who are awesome enough to watch this live, especially because I feel bad. I get some emails from people saying, yeah, I'm not going to wake up at 2 a.m. in New Zealand to catch the webcast. But for those of you who did wake up at 2 a.m., you deserve a free shirt. But we've got shirts that are pretty slick, and we're getting more shirts soon. And I do want to give these out to people because I can only wear them every other day. Or else people start to wonder if I do laundry. But what we want to do is if you mention us on Twitter today, if you say, hey, here is my favorite connector, or here's the connector I would like to see added into Logic Apps, just tag us at LogicApps.io. At this time tomorrow, we'll probably use a Logic app to do this, or a function, but we'll get a random number or just a random number generator. But hey, why simplify things? And we'll give out 3 of these t-shirts. So feel free to enter and send us a tweet and say that you want one of these t-shirts. If you already have one because you're at London, you can always use more. I've got 2 of these things, and like I said, I alternate. So there's that opportunity as well if you're watching this webcast. Okay, we'll go ahead and switch back to projecting my screen, and we will let John go over some of the exciting other stuff that's coming very soon. So let me share this really quickly. Okay. All right, John.
All right, cool. So one of the things I wanted to talk about now, because I think we've mentioned this in the past, but we can give much more concrete details around this, is around what we're calling the Enterprise Integration Pack, the capabilities that we're building and adding, and we'll make available really soon in preview, around how we're adding on top of Logic Apps with additional value of creating very common enterprise integration scenarios. So one of the fundamentals to this is this construct we've called the Enterprise Integration Account. This acts as a flexible container that lets you put artifacts in. So we provide a number of built-in containers for schemas, maps, trading partners agreements, as well as certificates, which let you manage these much more easily. We got a bunch of feedback from some of the earlier work we did around the Logic App v1 stuff, that the way we approach configuration with that was kind of harder to use, because each individual API app kind of had to be kind of configured individually. So by snapping to the Enterprise Integration Account, you can do this holistically. We have ARM templates, PowerShell commandlets, and what have you. So you have an API into the integration account, and you can then obviously automate deployment. You can query and retrieve artifacts from the Enterprise Integration Account. And the other thing you get the benefit of is you can share these artifacts across Logic Apps. So you just reference the integration account from a Logic app, and then you can consume the resources from it. It's also extensible, so you can store your own metadata configuration information into that integration account as well. So it can act as essentially a configuration store. So you don't have to worry about using SQL database lookups or whatever to be able to to get values you need at runtime. You can use the integration account to be able to do that. Next.
Yeah.
So just let this thing build. There's so I actually talked about, Kevin and I did a session on this at Integrate 2016. So we actually did a demo of this. So please reference that, the link that Jeff shared earlier, and you can see how all of this works. Again, kind of underpinning this is this integration account idea. So, a common enterprise integration pattern, or just a common integration pattern, to be honest, is a sort of pipeline of processing. And typically you'll receive a message over HTTP or service bus or something else, and you do some validation on that, particularly if it's XML based content. So we've got a new validate action, which lets you specify an XML schema from the integration account, and then it'll do a validation step. That action will let you then decide, if it fails, you can respond to that in Logic Apps with a great new control flow and error handling capabilities we're building that Jeff just talked about. So you can very easily react to invalid data being received by the Logic app. Beyond that, you can then do extraction of values from that XML document. This has been there for a little while, the XPath expression, so I won't talk too much about that, but this gives you full XPath capabilities to be able to pull values or node sets out of an XML document and do processing on those. The next thing is the transform action. Now this is interesting, because what I actually showed at Integrate, we've actually been iterating on again. So one of the problems with that, or one of the goals actually we have with the transform, is we wanted to make it compatible with BizTalk, so existing maps that you already have, and obviously other XSLT based maps you want to bring into Logic Apps. So that's a very powerful environment, because it lets you have functoids, it lets you put script essentially into the XML, into the XSLT, into the map, so you can do add additional logic capabilities, whatnot, into the map. So from a multi-tenanted kind of point of view, that's interesting, because essentially you're adding code. So what we're actually snapped to is a design based on functions. So we're actually, this is a work in progress. The end state is we'll actually be essentially provisioning a function which we run for you, and then we can support all of the script and everything else, the other functoids that you put in that map. So it's not just sort of like XSLT in the raw, but you can use all the power of the additional functoids that we ship. So you'll be able to use all of that, obviously, with us kind of integrating into functions to give the isolation necessary for you to be secure and scalable, calling within a logic app, all kind of wrapped up. So you know, some great innovation there that lets you take these artifacts forward. Then we have this this enrichment stage. So this is the idea where, you know, you've pulled content out of an XML document, or you received it from maybe another source, and you're kind of aggregating in a logic app, and now you actually want to essentially create a new message that you want to send out. So we have this at compose function, which we talked about a little bit before, which lets you essentially create new data from existing data. So the inputs into this will let you essentially compose a new output from those inputs. So, you know, you could take the output from the XML transform and a bunch of other things and essentially construct something new out of that, and then you can do a wrap. So you can push that on using our service bus integration to topics and subscriptions, so you have multiple subscribers to the output of that messaging. So this is how we're realizing that kind of what we've called in the past the better pipeline with BizTalk services, and in BizTalk, you know, this pipeline processing approach, and how we're lighting this up with all the new features that we're building, and rushing to kind of get into preview for you guys as soon as we can. So
that's right.
So, you know, where are we at with this stuff? And I kind of, this is a sort of list of everything that's coming soon, as well as what's kind of coming soon after this stuff. So as well as the things I just talked about around XML processing and validation, enrichment, and what have you, we also have EDI capabilities coming. So in the first wave, we have AS2 and X12 support. This will let you do, you know, EDI processing using those protocols. You know, in the you know, usual logic apps way, so a standard consistent approach, of very quickly be able to construct a logic app that can ingest and emit EDI data to trading partners. So, you know, part of the integration account again is that you can create a trading partner, you can set up the necessary configuration, qualifiers, and everything else, and then create an agreement between the trading partners, and then you can you know, use that again, referencing the integration account from the logic app, to be able to easily manage and exchange EDI data with third parties. XL transform I just mentioned, this is also coming in this pack in the first wave, and validation. We're also going to be making some enhancements to validation, so you can do things like inline schema versus just referencing from the integration account. So, you know, there's some use cases for that. Essentially, the schema could be dynamic, and you could specify that at runtime. What's coming next, kind of after this, so this stuff is really close to actually sharing with you guys. So we're actually starting to work on the next set of features as well. Jeff's looking at his watch, so I better start.
No, I'm getting Twitter notifications.
Wow, awesome.
Yes. Oh. No, you're taking. You're fine.
You should read some of those out. So,
yeah, I'm making sure we're not getting questions. Yeah, come on, John. What's going on here now?
I don't want to talk too
much stuff.
There is just. I mean, it's just awesome. There's just so much going on. It's just so. Really excited to be able to share this stuff with you, now and coming next in the coming weeks. So, guys, be prepared, because we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming that we really want you to try out and give us feedback as we get closer and closer to this stuff. So what's coming next is around, we're adding Edifact support as well. We've got this configurable tracking capabilities, and this is going to get richer in terms of what you can do with the tracking data that we emit. So we talked before about the run data and metrics that we spit out of a logic app, but the EDI stuff will also spit out a whole bunch of metrics that allow you to essentially manage, monitor, alert against that data as well. This is all coming down the pipe, so you really can create a manageable, full-blown EDI solution just building on top of logic apps. Some things some other things we're working on are training partner agreements. Some things that we have full PowerShell integration, which will ship a preview, but there's some other work we want to integrate into the portal, so let you be able to manage, edit, and more effectively create trading partner agreements in the portal. There's a whole bunch of stuff. If you're familiar with this, there's a whole bunch of settings, so there's some work that we need to do to create a great UI in the portal for this. Schema party resolution, yeah. So right now, I think the bits that we showed to integrate showed essentially you pick the schema and the validation action. We're actually adding resolution to that, so we'll actually be able to determine the schema from the incoming message content, and then do validation against that. Same for party resolution. So again, right now, it determines from the content which party to resolve to. We want to make that more extensible, so you give you more options around how we determine which trading partner and therefore which agreement you match against to do processing. And I've already mentioned the function management piece for transformation, which is really cool. So you'll get all of the great functoid support and scripting support that we provide with BizTalk in Logic Apps as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Tons of stuff coming. That's going to be a big pack. I'll mention as well a few people on Twitter. What is good is a lot of people are really excited about this, and I'm also getting some reports that the stream has been a little bit slow, which is okay. So it sounds like it's streaming, but it might just be low res, so hard to read some of these things. So I will just let you know now. I'm making sure I'm hardwired into the network. It's not Wi-Fi or anything, but I'll post this deck in the comments section or in the description of this video. So after the fact, if you wanted to read some more of that stuff that John was sharing, some of those details, you'll be able to look at that. But it sounds like the consensus is they can see it, but sometimes it's a little low res. So it looks like we broke the internet. Too many live viewers. We're at 25,000. So okay. All right. Let's do a quick demo and then we can ask some questions. I'm not seeing questions come in on the Hangout. I'm guessing there's something there, but feel free to ask us any on Twitter. As you know, we are checking that. So let me switch back over here. Actually, should we do the demo first? You want to do WPC? Let's do the demo. Let's do a demo. We've seen enough slide. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to show you some of the new control stuff, control flow functions in action. So how I want to share that is actually with this Logic app that I have. If you have had the chance to see it, I think I actually even plugged it last time, so this almost feels embarrassing, but this is the demo I have ready. Is I actually have a Microsoft bot that connects to our backlog in our Visual Studio server. And this bot allows me to manage our backlog and create bugs on the fly, because I'll get emails on my mobile app or whatever, and I realize that we have a bug and I don't always have access to Visual Studio. So I've created this bot in Telegram. I know you probably can't see it, which is probably for the best because this does show our backlog and some stuff. You can see I used this morning. But what it allows me to do is say things like, hey, I want to create a feature, or I want to create a bug, or I want to search our backlog and understand if something's there. And what's happening is this bot, all it does is take whatever I requested and send it off to a Logic app, because I didn't want to have to code in all that integration to Visual Studio. I didn't want to have to worry about things like retry policies if Visual Studio was a little bit slow to respond. So I just say, hey, bot, take the command and send it off to a Logic app. And here's the Logic app I have. It just gets that request, and here's some of the stuff Kevin talked about. I know we showed this a little bit last time. So it's saying, hey, post this request to this URL, and I've defined a schema here. And then it goes into a condition, and right now it's really simple, but it pretty much says, hey, if the request type is a bug, then create a bug. If the request type is not a bug, right now that means it's a feature, then create a feature. And I have other Logic apps to do things like search the backlog and whatnot. But what's some of the new control flow stuff that's coming very soon in the next week or two, we'll be rolling it out. It allows me to do things like add a condition within a condition. So if you've used Logic apps before, all of this was possible, but it was difficult to set up, to say the least. But you'll see here, yes, that is kind. But I can click like this more button, and I could also add a for each loop. I could add a do until loop. I could add a scope. I might as well actually just add a scope just to say that we can. And inside that scope, I can start adding actions or adding conditions or more. But in this case, I could right here do something like, hey, let's add another condition. I forgot to give the disclaimer. Our conditions is going through some UI polish right now, so don't worry. It's going to look cleaner than this when we ship in a week or two. But when I add another condition, you see now I'm able to have conditions in conditions. So I could say something like, hey, if this bug was a customer reported bug, maybe if the title of the bug has customer in it, then I want to send an email to the team and let them know, hey, we have a customer bug. This is one we really need to fix ASAP, instead of just creating it. So it could send a text message, an email, whatever. So just a really quick overview of some of the changes that are coming very soon. Again, we have some UX polish that we're working on, but for the most part, this is ready to go. But how taking a scenario that in the current designer was a little bit tricky with nesting conditions, and now it's just as easy as another click, and you're ready to go. So that's it for the demo. We're already at 30 minutes, so we'll go ahead and switch to this and answer questions. WPC, Worldwide Partner Conference. Kevin, you want to talk to this a little bit?
So the Worldwide Partner Conference is going to be happening in Toronto in the second week of July. I will be there, and I would love to meet with you if you guys are going to be there. So if any of your partners are going to be at the Worldwide Partner Conference, we'll be talking about the BizTalk, Logic apps, the integration story, and how it's going to benefit you as partners, and then how you can help your customers with that. So I hope you can go. And if you do go, please reach out to me. I'd love to meet with you and talk with you about how we can help you in your as a partner.
Yeah, cool opportunity. Great conference to go to. And again, there's that. I added Kevin's email and the Logic Apps email. Probably send it to both just because I don't know if the Logic Apps email is behaving again. Okay, and then obviously the opportunity to reach out to us. Many of you have been on Twitter, as I mentioned. If you want a t-shirt as well, go ahead and tag us at Twitter and we'll enter you into that drawing. We have our blog, User Voice as well, which is worth checking out so that you can vote for features or add features. We've got a BizTalk blog. There's some exciting stuff going out with the CTP release of 2016 right now. More updates incoming, so a blog worth keeping track of. We have that link to Integrate 2016, which we mentioned earlier. And we've got some different Yammer groups. One of them's a private Yammer group that we've set up for customers and partners that get approved. And you have the opportunity to apply to join that Yammer group following the link below, aka.ms/Azure Advisors. And then finally, there's our monthly newsletter, BizTalk Integration at Microsoft.com. It covers both Logic Apps, BizTalk, and a few other pieces of Microsoft integration. So don't let the email address dissuade you from subscribing. Definitely worth subscribing to. So we do hope to hear from you. We love hearing from all of you on Twitter and through email. And the only question I've seen so far, and let me minimize this since we don't need the screen anymore and make sure that I'm not missing some that did come in on chat. And again, so just kind of a little bit of sausage making before I mention this. So we use Google Hangouts to do these webcasts because it allows us to do the live interaction and the live broadcasting with instant recording. But they recently changed it so we can't use Hangouts to do it. We have to use YouTube directly, which is fine. But that's why a few people on Twitter have been like, hey, where's the Hangouts link? It's now just through YouTube, and it doesn't work the same way. So we'll clean that up a little bit and make sure that it's clear for next time with Q&A. But the only question I see is there a limit to how many conditions you can nest within conditions? The answer to that is currently 8. You can have 8 nests. There's no real reason behind that other than when we do validation to make sure that everything's running the way it's supposed to. We have it at 8 right now, but that's the answer. So you can have 8 things nested. And there's more capabilities coming to the conditions as well in the future. So the ability to do things like adding an else and else and else branches. So it doesn't always just have to be 2 branches, but you could say if this, else if this, else if this. So you don't always have to nest things, but we're working on the designs for that right now from a UI perspective before that lights up. I don't see any other questions. We are a little bit over the half-hour mark, but there were a lot of interaction on Twitter, which is great to see. We're excited to roll this out to you and more fun stuff to come. As I mentioned, we've been very busy. Worth checking out that Integrate website to view some of those things. Especially, I would recommend the keynote. For a good overview of a strategy all up in the direction that we are headed. And as well, in 2 weeks from today, you can join this channel and we will be going over some getting started material for Logic Apps. So anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Good.
Great.
Okay, thanks again for joining. Hope to hear from you all soon, and we'll catch you in a few weeks.